Good morning. Welcome to my channel. It is 8 a.m. on a Saturday, and I want to get a lot of reading done this weekend, which might be a little difficult because I'm also attending a conference this weekend, but the time zones are slightly different, so I can get some done in the morning time. So I'm going to start reading this morning. I wanted to do a little reading vlog for this weekend because the Scotiabank Giller Prize winner is announced on Monday, November 8th, and today is the 6th. And I just happened to pick up The Listeners by Jordan Tannahill, which I didn't previously realize is on the shortlist for the Giller Prize. So I thought this might be a good opportunity to quickly read The Listeners and one other Giller Prize shortlisted book. I haven't read any of them thus far, and see if I can get them done by Monday morning and edit this vlog and put it up on the same day as the prize winner is announced. So we'll see. Before I get to the shortlisted books, I have to finish Tender is the Flesh by Agustina Bazterrica, because I'm only 70 pages away from the end, and I want to get this out of my brain before I pick up another book. So that's what we're planning on doing this morning, is finishing up Tender is the Flesh. And then we'll move into The Listeners by Jordan Tannahill. So Jordan Tannahill is a Canadian author. He's written one other book called Liminal, but he's now, I believe, living in the UK. And he is known as a playwright, known to me anyway, primarily as a playwright, who's written many plays, many of them award-winning, and he won the Governor General's Prize in drama, I guess. This being his second novel, I'm pretty excited, and it's only like 280 pages long, so hopefully we can tackle this today. The second shortlisted book that I'm going to read, because I have access to the ebook of it, is called Glorious Frazzled Beings. I don't have the physical book, and it's on my phone, so I can't show you, so I'll put it here. It's a really gorgeous cover. And this is by Angelique Lalonde. She is from BC, and she has a PhD in anthropology, so I'll be interested to see if that background sort of comes out in her short stories, because this is a short story collection. She's primarily a short story writer, but has written essays that have appeared in places as well. It sounds like this collection is about the home and the human and non-human beings that share the home space. I'm excited by the word beings in the title, and I hope that this expands beyond animal beings and into the other inanimate beings, maybe, that we share our homes with, or maybe the home itself as a being. That would be really cool for me. Let's make some coffee and then get to finishing up Tender is the Flesh. See you soon for an update. And here is the obligatory vlog coffee shot. Nice. Cheers. So I finished Tender is the Flesh. And everyone, I was looking forward to the ending, because everyone, just what they say about this book is that the ending just gets them. It just like hits them. And it did. I definitely started to suspect the ending, like the final ending, like a couple pages before it happened. Was not expecting it prior, so it was a bit of a shock, but by the end it was like, oh, there is only one way this book can end. Oh no. So it was good. I definitely need some time to think about it and reflect on it. It's a dystopian world in which animals are poisonous to eat, or at least that's what the governments are saying. A lot of people think that this is false, and they're just saying that to control overpopulation, which is honestly likely the case, because I think the main character comes in contact with an animal at one point in time and is unaffected. So, of course, they have resorted to eating humans for protein, but nobody calls them humans. They use this clinical language to cover that up, and the main character works in a meat processing plant where they do absolutely everything that you could possibly conceive of. Impregnating the female heads is what they call them, so that they can have like pure specimens. And it's really gross. It's a really gross book. I don't recommend reading it if you can't handle some like very, very gross descriptions or violence to animals or violence to humans or the domestication of humans as food, scientific experimentation on humans, etc. It's quite vile. But if you can handle those things and it sounds interesting to you, then I think you will like this book. It was quite well done for what it set out to do. And the ending is perfect, I think. Anyway, next up, we're moving right along to The Listeners by Jordan Tannahill. I'm excited to get going on this one. It's about a woman, who I assume is the woman on the front cover, who starts to hear this hum, and nobody else can hear it, but she does find some people that can hear the hum, and they create this unlikely community. I will give you an update when I'm a little farther into The Listeners. So I'm about 70 pages into this book now, and oh my goodness, I am adoring it. I'm like laughing out loud, not because it's like a funny book, like it's not a comedic book, but just because like it resonates with me so strongly that I can't help but like laugh at like how accurate it is to what I would do in this situation. Tannahill's writing is like so authentic and realistic to actual people in this situation, which is the situation of just a middle-aged mom hears a hum. And like as soon as she thinks about the hum, as soon as she notices it and latches onto that sound, she can't stop hearing it. And she needs to figure out where this sound is coming from. And the places that takes her, the conversations that she engages in because of this, feel like what would actually happen if I was a middle-aged woman and started to hear this hum. It's pretty amazing that Jordan Tannahill is writing a very realistic portrait of, I think, the inside of a middle-aged woman's head, because this is in first person. There ended up being like way too many things that I wanted to remember and wanted to make note of to like keep putting sticky notes in this book. It would have been ridiculous. It opens just after a dinner with her all-women's dystopia book club, which is hilarious, especially because I just finished reading a dystopian book. And this is not dystopian, but it feels, I mean, it's a what if story, right? It's like, what if some people just started hearing this hum? And it feels like it could go to a dystopian place because it's sort of drawing on this idea of conspiracy theories and disrupting your everyday normal lives because you got trapped in the QAnon business or something. So it feels like it could go to a dystopian place, or at least a place where the characters believe they're living in a dystopian society, even if they're not. And because it's first person, we are totally along for the ride and like believe in this woman. I think as a reader, I believe in this woman because she is the one that's telling this story. But of course the other characters are like, no, this is not happening. This noise is not real. We cannot hear this noise. You are acting up. You are maybe stressed. Everything that, doctors usually tell women when they come in with some ailment that the doctors believe is like just a figment of their imagination. So the storytelling is phenomenal, and gosh, I just want to pick it back up, but I gotta go attend my conference, so goodbye for now. So we're meeting my brother for a drink at a brewery, and I think he's running a bit late, so I'm probably going to start reading Glorious Frazzled Beings in the meantime, because I forgot to bring the listeners with me on this car ride. It was like a 20-minute drive here, so we are also listening to the audiobook for Jody Wilson-Raybould's book, Indian in the Cabinet, which is a pretty interesting insider look at what it's like to be in Justin Trudeau's cabinet. So I'm gonna go get us a table and start on Glorious Frazzled Beings. It's actually really nice temperature. It's a really beautiful sunny day for a little patio beer, so that's nice compared to the recent very cold weather. Okay.
Make me feel like a giant.
Yeah, I don't know what the numbers. Oh. Yeah.
This one's gotta be the Dark Days.
So it's now Sunday morning, and I didn't read any more of The Listeners last night, but I did wake up and start reading this morning, so I'm now up to page 200, nearly finished. Oh man, it just, the events of the book as this woman, like, descends into, I don't know, maybe madness or conspiracy or a cult or something other than the sort of like normal way of going about our lives. It's like, it's disturbing and uncomfortable, but also like pleasurable, maybe, like perhaps the hum itself. The book is like so uncomfortable and sad to read though, because of her relationship with her family and how that is affected by her being able to hear the hum. And it's so heartbreaking, especially to read from her perspective, where she believes that her reality is so intact, and we as readers are forced to believe that alongside her because we are hearing it directly from her first person testimonial of what happened. And we want to believe her. We want her to be this like strong person in total control of herself and be actually on the cusp of something real. It was this descent, like from her beginning personality. Tannahill like wrote somebody who you believe would never fall into this trap of being so distanced from their own reality and from what is normal, because she was an atheist, like she didn't believe in, you know, anything. Like the choice of that character I think was really clever. It's also really painful to read her and have this own like ambiguity in myself about like what is right when you feel something that everyone says is not real, but you have felt it and know it to be real. Do you believe in that thing, or do you try to ignore it and like get rid of any feeling that you have for others' sake, maybe? And for what they say is your own sake. Yeah, it's a thought-provoking book, for sure. I'm gonna go for a run now, and then hopefully finish up this book. Okay, so I have finally finished The Listeners, and it ended superbly, if you ask me. The very first sentence of this book promises an image that we are given by the end of the book, and it was so satisfying. The first line of the book is, "The chances are that you have, at some point, stumbled upon the viral meme of me screaming naked in front of a bank of news cameras, a moment of sheer abandon, forever rendered as a GIF, pasted in the comment threads and text messages the world over." This image of her screaming in front of a bunch of news cameras, totally naked, is the image we're promised at the very beginning of the book. And we are given that image at the end of the book, and how we get there is pretty believable. Like, I was along for the ride and constantly had that image in the back of my mind and was wondering how we were going to get to that point. And then things wrap up pretty nicely after that point. And I don't want to give anything away, but I want to give everything away. Ultimately, I guess one thing I'll say is the hum can be interpreted so many different ways. So I definitely need to sit and like think about this book for a while and determine what I want the hum to mean for my reading of the book, because it could be anything that is like just outside of normal, you know? So I do recommend this book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It made me feel uncomfortable. It made me think a lot, and I will keep thinking about it. And I think one of the people that writes on the back of this book is right. The Listeners starts as a little hum in your ears and ends up blowing the top off your head. And that's Emma Donoghue is saying that about this book, and I think she's right. So I think The Listeners is going to be humming in the back of my head as I pick up Glorious Frazzled Beings and try to get through some of that before the winner is announced tomorrow evening of the Scotiabank Giller Prize. So at least I will know of 2 of the titles that are on the short list, so I'm a little bit invested when they release the winner of the prize. It is Sunday evening now, and I'm cozied up on the couch with a chai latte stout from Wellington Brewery that is okay. and I've been reading Glorious Frazzled Beings. I have only read the first 2 short stories so far. The second one is called The Town That Carmen Found, I believe, and I just wanted to pause briefly and tell you about it because it has so many resonances. Ha ha ha. Resonances. That's an inside joke if you've read The Listeners. Between, yes, The Listeners and Glorious Frazzled Beings, specifically in this short story. So in this short story, this woman named Carmen walks into the forest behind her house and finds a town sometimes when she goes there. And it's this old decrepit town from over 100 years ago. And it's this wonderful place that she can just be herself. She can dance, she can explore, and it just exists there for her. And when she takes other people there, they kind of ruin the space. They're kind of awkward and stilted. And then eventually one day the town disappears for her. And she's heartbroken because this town gave her this wonderful feeling of being one with the world and this euphoria of existence that she's lost. And this is where it sort of departs or maybe becomes an interpretation of the listeners, because the hum gave Claire in the listeners this feeling of oneness with the world and this extreme pleasure of being outside of her own body. But in The Town That Carmen Found, she later, after the town has disappeared for her, talks to the people that she had brought into the town and realizes that it wasn't that they didn't want to dance or that they thought that she was weird or the town was weird. It's rather that they were jealous of her and the town, and they wished that they had the town, or that they didn't want her to think that they were weird. So she writes, Angelique Lalonde writes, Carmen learned each soul has a troubled story, isolated in the myth of its own loneliness. When she paused her own seeking, she was able to listen deeply. And I feel like maybe this is actually part of what The Listeners is about, is just being able to listen to other people so that we're all a little less lonely. Especially because Claire's husband, Paul, he, in the very beginning of the book, talks about how he wants to start going to church again, but she's an atheist and he didn't want to tell her because he's certain that she'll make fun of him for it and dismiss it. And that kind of exposes his loneliness. And then her daughter exposes her loneliness constantly because she is always wanting to perform for her school friends and be included at school, and her mom is taking that away from her. And so maybe having the hum has just opened up Claire a little bit to listening to others and being able to make people feel a little less alone in their loneliness. The other line that I wanted to share so far from that short story, because I think it gives a good example so far of what the writing style is like in this collection. This sentence: she frazzled in the bowels of her grief for a good long while, coming out somewhat composted on the inside. What imagery? What does it even mean to frazzle? And let alone to frazzle in the bowels of your grief. There was a lot of talk of grief in The Listeners as well, so I am enjoying this read. I don't often pick up a short story collection, but I think I might start. Well, everybody, that's it. That's the video. It's Monday afternoon now, and I didn't finish Glorious Frazzled Beings, but I did get to the end of part 1 this morning, so maybe a third of the book or so. I am really enjoying it. I plan on finishing the short story collection, regardless of whether it wins the Giller Prize. And I've got to wrap up this vlog now because the prize winner is going to be announced in 5 hours from now. So hopefully I'll get this uploaded prior to the prize and we'll see who wins. Honestly, the only other Giller Prize winners that I have read at all are Washington Black. Personally, I preferred The Listeners to Washington Black, so I definitely think The Listeners has the chops to win the Giller Prize. And How to Pronounce Knife, which is a short story collection, and like Glorious Frazzled Beings, a short story collection I have not yet finished. I've only read the first couple short stories. The two collections are extremely different, but I think I'm enjoying them equally to each other, so Glorious Frazzled Beings definitely could win the prize. I think they're both worthy of the award, so I'm looking forward to seeing what wins tonight. Maybe it'll be something that I didn't even read. So maybe I'm gonna add another book to my TBR after tonight. If you have read any of the Giller shortlisted books or long-listed books or winners of previous years and you loved them and you want to talk about them, then please give me a comment and let me know which titles I should be adding to my TBR immediately and maybe which ones I can pass on, because this award has been going for like 27 years and that is so many books. Oh my goodness. Hopefully I'll get around to reading all of the winners one day, but maybe not all of the long-listed books for the Giller Prize ever, although I'm sure they are all phenomenal. And I love supporting Canadian authors. Anyway, let me know who you hope wins tonight, whether or not they do, and I will put a link to where the Giller Prize live stream will be and links to all of the other books that are on the short list so that you have that information if you're interested. That'll be in the description box below. Let's see who wins. Enjoy the live stream tonight, everybody. I'll be watching alongside with you, and let's chat more in the comment section.